ended Mill's career after she ruined our lives. About my fiancé's adoptive mother, Susan, in the last couple weeks, mostly on JustNoMill, where I might cross-post this to later. But for anyone unfamiliar with Susan, she was my lecturer when I was at university. Susan hated that I was dating her adopted son, biological nephew, since she found out about us. When we first told her we were dating, she tried to kill me via allergy, another story for another day, and after she found out I was pregnant, she stalked us, impersonated me, and broke into our flat, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. She made our lives hell, to the extent where we no longer felt safe in our own home, and my fiancé and I had to move across the country to escape her. We've been living in our new place for a little under a week. The baby is due in a couple of months and everything is mostly ready. We've deactivated our social media, created new emails, and changed our numbers. Only a few friends and relatives from the town she lives in, which we left, have our new numbers. We had to leave our entire lives, and everyone we knew and loved behind, while I was 7 months pregnant, because we couldn't trust her around our baby. Revenge. On Monday, an email was sent from the dean to Susan's graduating students saying Susan was being considered for a promotion, from lecturer to head of department, and they wanted to hear from her students first. The aim of this was to receive glowing recommendations to give to the board. This was not the result. As I changed my email, I hadn't seen this. One of my friends who had my new number and was on the course with me did see the email, and on Tuesday, he gave my new number to the dean, saying that he would only give her the number in person, on paper, and only if she agreed to ring when she was alone and throw out the paper and erase it from the logs after. If she was calling from a university phone, then the number would go on the call logs that were accessible by all members of staff. But he assured her that this was something she'd want to hear before promoting Susan. So I got this call from the dean on Tuesday. She told me what was going on. My friend hadn't had time to get in touch before she rang, and she asked me why my friend thought I should speak to her. I told her everything. I started 2 years ago when I met Susan's son, the man who would become my fiancé and the father of my child. I told her about Susan poisoning me via allergy after finding out about me and her son and the EpiPen incident. I told her about the outside of class harassment I received post-pregnancy announcement, impersonating me, crashing GP appointments, breaking in, ECT. I told her about the in-class harassment, telling me to break up with my fiancé, stopping lectures until I left, throwing out my food and drink, trying to reschedule exams, and more. I told her about the last time I saw Susan in person, when she tried to hit me while I was 7 months pregnant with her grandchild. I told her about having to move away. I was careful not to give a location or distance, and filing a restraining order to escape Susan. I thought the uni were made aware of the RO, but apparently not. Fiancé then arrived home from work, and when I told him what was happening, he was all too eager to chime in with stuff I forgot. Copying keys, punching the landlord, canceling orders, going through our things. He also told the dean about the abuse he got from her growing up. We also gave the dean the names of people willing to support our story, as well as some dates, times, and locations of on-campus incidents. I'd made a note of a few of them, so she could pull CCTV from the campus security recordings. Fiancé also told her the story of one of his cousins, Susan's bio kid, who got close with a guy on Susan's course, but the guy was told to break up with her by Susan with a thinly veiled threat against his academic career. We also told the dean about Susan telling me to break up with my fiancé and vice versa, so she could better maintain professionalism. The dean was horrified. She had me and my fiancé record a video where we said everything all over again, from the top. We made sure the video had nothing to identify location, and we were assured Susan would never see it. We also sent her all the proof we had alongside it. This was all forwarded to the board on Wednesday and Thursday. She asked my friend for the number again, and just called me for the second time, telling me that the board unanimously agreed this was grounds for Susan's dismissal. They said that while the outside of uni events weren't really their business, they go towards her character and the fact that as department head, she would represent the department, whether she was on the clock or not. They said even without this, the events that happened inside of uni alone, stopping lectures, telling me to dump my fiancé, telling that other guy to leave her daughter alone, throwing out my stuff, seeking special treatment on grounds of nepotism, were all abuses of power and enough to justify Susan's dismissal. They asked me why I hadn't filed charges, and I said all I'd gain from filing charges is Susan staying away from me, and the RO and moving away has the same effect. Plus, as it's exams season, my tutor work is really taking off, and I don't have the time to go through a whole court case, and I'll have even less time once the baby arrives. The baby is due in about 8 weeks, and Susan has already caused me enough stress. Tomorrow, in the meeting where Susan is fully expecting to be told she got her promotion, the dean is now going to give her a week to hand in her resignation. If she refuses, she will be fired. If she does not hand in her resignation, she will be fired. She will not be getting a reference. The only reason she is being given the option to resign is that she has worked at this university for nearly a decade. But if she so much as raises her voice in the meeting tomorrow, she will be fired. Security will be present for the meeting, in case she tries anything. Meanwhile, the friends we left behind aren't hesitating to tell anyone who will listen all about what Susan did during the course of mine and my fiancé's relationship. There's not a single soul left in that town who trusts her or will take her side if she tries to fight back. Not even her husband, who told us that now all their kids are over 18, he will be initiating divorce proceedings. I don't feel even a little bit bad. I know there's a chance I went too far, but I didn't lie or embellish anything. I just gave the dean the facts as they are. Everything is 100% true, and while it was me who told the dean, I see this as Susan's actions having consequences. Susan has more than enough money to pay for herself for the foreseeable future. She owns her home. Her husband's name is not on the deed and she bought it before they got married, so she will get the house in the divorce, as it's not technically a shared asset or one acquired during their marriage. She will have a roof over her head and money in her bank account, and if she wanted to, she could get another job, just probably not one as a lecturer. FAQs. What is Susan and fiancé's relationship exactly? Biologically, they're aunt and nephew. Fiancé's parents were in and out of his life a lot growing up, and when they were out of his life, they'd leave him at Susan's place. And when he was 14, they left for good, at which point Susan said she'd adopted him. Fiancé has never seen proof of this, but she refers to herself as his mother and to him as her son. What is the EPI pen poisoning accident? I'm severely allergic to peppercorn, as in salt and pepper, and shortly after Susan found out we were dating and asked us to break up, she then invited us to dinner to apologize. I offered to cook as I had my pepper allergy to work around, and she insisted on cooking. Fiancé also reminded her of the pepper allergy, as did his uncle, her husband. She cooked pepper-crusted turkey. Susan insisted it was a palate issue, and I needed to stop being fussy. I didn't eat it, but due to my proximity to a giant lump of cracked and cooked pepper, combined with the severity of my allergy, I was sat at the table with the turkey right in front of me. I wound up inhaling enough that I began to violently cough and felt lightheaded. Fiancé went to get me water while I went for my EPI pen. I couldn't open it, and Susan took it off me. I pointed to where she should administer it, and instead of doing that, she asked me if I was sure about not breaking up with fiancé. Uncle arrived, saw what was happening, called fiancé into the room, and between them they got my EPI pen, administered it, and drove me to A&E. To this day, Susan insists that no one is allergic to pepper. I'm just fussy, and even though I should have pressed charges at the time, not only was she still my lecturer, but law enforcement says that being stupid isn't a crime. What the hell is going on with the faculty? At my uni, there are visiting, part-time lecturers, referred to as junior lecturers. Then there's full-time lecturers who are referred to as senior lecturers. Then there's the head of department. This is not a rotating position. Each position comes with a pay bump, and the head of department runs the compulsory module each year. The head of department, once appointed, is the head of department until they resign, are fired, or retire. Why was the dean so transparent? From what the dean told us, it's a health and safety issue as well as a legal one. Susan has proved to us that she's a threat to our safety and well-being. We proved that to the dean with testimony and evidence, and now if the dean gets rid of Susan, Susan could go after us. The dean needs to keep us in the loop in case this happens so the uni isn't liable in case Susan comes after us. How was this all done so quickly? I think they wanted it sorted quickly and quietly. They need to announce the new head of department soon, and they had a few options, but Susan was the front runner. The email I didn't see sounds like it extended to all candidates, so if former students had any thoughts on the other two options, they were free to email about them too. But when my friend saw that Susan was an option, he took matters into his own hands, as he knew about everything she'd done. I will admit to guessing and filling in the blanks here, and with the other uni stuff, but the dean didn't explain everything to us, so a lot of stuff me and fiancé are trying to fill in the gaps between us. Why no police? The same reasons we listed above, between the baby, the move, and the new job. We have no free time. We think that the RO and moving will be enough to keep her away, but if she comes near us again, we've agreed to contact the police and see through the court case. But with all the shit going on, we don't have time. We were also told when we were first asked about court that if she fought us, her lawyer would have the right to cross-examine us, and for that to happen, we would need to be in the courtroom. Whether this happens before or after the baby is born, we don't want to even be in the same town as her right now, let alone in the same courtroom. Regardless of security, we wouldn't feel safe. Won't Susan blame you for all this? She'd blame us for this even if we had nothing to do with it. We're preparing as if she's going to knock on our front door any second and ask where we went. And because of this, we have no less than 4 separate backup plans in case something does happen. When I said she had money to support herself, she does. But she doesn't have PI money or money to travel all over the place searching for us. Any therapy? Fiancé is in therapy because of her RN. Tried to get her in therapy, but she didn't want to. She went for 1 session with my fiancé as a mother-son thing, and never again. What's the security situation at your new place? We have and are in the process of installing one of those doorbells with video feed and CCTV. We replaced the short screws in the doors with longer ones. Our place has a high metal fence with a locked metal gate on the front, and we're looking into if it's possible to fit a keypad or something similar so we'd have a code on it. Our new hospital has had some issues with the maternity ward in the last couple years, so they upped security in a big way. And now all visitors have to wear passes and sign in with photo ID. And they have a system where once the person signing in puts in their name, they type it into a computer, and the computer will alert them if this person is banned, like Susan is. And in that case, she will not get her visitor pass, and therefore not be able to access the ward. Can't she track you via social media? We've erased everything from our social media, deactivated our accounts, never mentioned anything about the place we moved to online or IRL. Fiancé works in IT, and he's in the process of erasing all our accounts. Final update. The dean said the firing was happening last week. She said that if Susan didn't present as a danger to us to her egg, if Susan lost her cool and yelled something like, "This is all her fault," then the dean couldn't break confidentiality. And as we've not heard from her, since we can only assume that she took it well, or as well as possible. We've read your comments, replied, and we're talked and done some thinking. And we've agreed to look into legal options. We're still not totally sure about pursuing a court case, but we realize that Susan isn't just going to let this go, and she won't be willing to just leave us alone. We also weren't informed that the RO would have our address, and my fiancé was also hesitant because despite her actions, Susan did, for the most part, raise him. We looked into it, and it doesn't look like she actually adopted him, so that's something. We're gathering all the evidence we have against her, plus anything the dean, landlord, or anyone else still has. And we're meeting a lawyer later this week as we agree that our personal safety and the safety of our child should come first.